Today's episode is brought to you by Playmates Toys. Here's everything you might have missed in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 3. Another week, another episode of The Falcon and Bucky Show, and Episode 3 titled Power Broker gave us plenty of explosive revelations and explosive, explosions as the action took us halfway around the world on a mission to learn more about how the Flag Smashers got their anti-nationalist mitts on that sweet, sweet Super-Soldier Serum in the first place. More importantly, it also gave us the gift of Baron Zemo's iconic dance moves, which are definitely a top 5 MCU moment. I don't know about you, but it's definitely up there for me. We're going to break down all the Easter eggs, references, and hidden details you might have missed. As always, if you prefer to read all about it, Rosie Knight has you covered over on Nerdist.com. However, to talk about this episode in detail, we do need to spoil it, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, or you clicked this video by mistake, leave now before things escalate. Okay, are all the spoiler phobes gone?
It's a rhetorical question.
No, you're not watching WandaVision. The Falcon and Bucky show's third episode also begins with a commercial dealing with the MCU's current ongoing trauma, the displacement caused by the Blip. When half of all life in the universe comes back in the blink of an eye after 5 long years, borders were redrawn, power vacuums were filled, and millions of folks found themselves without homes or resources. And the Global Repatriation Council advertises they're here to help you get back to the way things were, which... sure. Meanwhile, the GRC's police force is busy raiding the Flag Smashers' most recent hideout at an internet cafe in Munich, and John Walker and Lamar Hoskins, aka Captain America and Battlestar, interrogate the owner, who literally spits in Walker's face. And here we see just how unhinged Walker is becoming.
Do you know who I am?
Unfortunately for Walker, simply putting on a costume doesn't immediately conjure respect. Otherwise, my Waluigi outfit would have opened some major doors for me professionally in the Mushroom Kingdom. The show wastes no time at all in breaking Zemo out of what was presumably a maximum security prison. Between the chess game and reading Machiavelli, Zemo kinda borders on cartoonish in his villainous prison habits, but he comes out swinging by trying to trigger Bucky with the old Winter Soldier activation words. Pop, Six, Squish, Mephisto, Cicero, Lipschitz. Wait, I'm sorry, those are the wrong activation words. Those will activate something else inside of you though, so be careful. Anyway, after pushing the meatware to its limit and engineering a good old-fashioned prison break, Bucky takes Sam to a nearby garage that looks awfully similar to the one that Sam and Cap brought Bucky to and they brought him back to the side of the good guys in during Civil War. Except this time around, instead of trying to defeat Zemo, they need his help to track down the origin of this Super-Soldier Serum. What they don't need is Zemo's input.
If I may.
No!
Sam mentions Chekhov's Wakandans in reference to Zemo's assassination of King T'Chaka during Civil War, which will play a major role in the final moments of this episode, but more on that in just a little bit. For now, they have to face the fact they have to team up with the man who tore the Avengers apart. We see Zemo has a bunch of really nice cars in a garage that were collected by his family over the years, and inside of what appears to be a vintage Jaguar Roadster, Zemo sees his iconic purple mask and fuzzy jacket, which he always wears in the comics because it looks great on him. Hopefully, though, that's not his dad's purple mask, because that would almost definitely have, like, weird Wade Wilson-esque skin chunks attached to it, because that was permanently glued to his dad's face. You know, that old inevitable thing that happens when you hang out with a guy named Paste Pot Pete. I mean, it's right there in his name. Paste Pot. Because Zemo has spent literal years hunting people that Hydra recruited to recreate the Super-Soldier Serum, he knows exactly where to begin by scaling a ladder of lowlifes in sunny, miserable Madripoor. And we're reminded that Zemo is actually rich as hell because...
I'm a baron, Sam.
So how rich is Zemo? Well, he's rich enough to have a private jet and a butler that looks as old as Bucky feels. I'm pretty sure I locked that dude in the freezer back in Tomb Raider 2, but I'm just glad he made it out okay. Zemo notes that before Sokovia was destroyed during Age of Ultron while the Avengers battled Robo California, he and his family were royalty. Now though, as we learn later in the episode, Sokovia is basically wiped off the map thanks to its neighbors, and I'm increasingly wondering if that is a subtle reference to Latveria, the small Eastern European kingdom ruled by one Victor von Doom. Now, as far as I can tell, Zemo's reading a book by Swiss psychoanalyst Peter Schellenbaum called Das Nein in der Liebe, or How to Say No to the One You Love, and who knows, maybe he'll be doing some in-flight couples counseling for Sam and Bucky while they're away from Dr. Rayner. Of course, what Zemo's actually reading is far more personal. Bucky's journal, which we learned is actually the same journal Steve Rogers used in Captain America the Winter Soldier to write down helpful things to look up in the modern era, like Thai food and Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man, the latter of which Bucky doesn't really appreciate.
It captures the African-American experience.
He's out of line, but he's right.
On Bucky's list, we see some names including Y. Nakajima, aka Yori, the old man from Episode 1 whose son Bucky killed, A. Claremont Windsor references both longtime X-Men writer and Madripoor co-creator Chris Claremont and Marvel artist Barry Windsor Smith. S. Whitaker is likely British comics artist Steve Whitaker, who worked on a number of Marvel series as well as V for Vendetta. And last but not least, we have L. Atwood, the senator that Bucky made amends with in episode 1. And once again, the other names might mean something bigger, but it's all Sokovian to us. Once again, the show tries to tackle this notion of hero worship, or should I say superhero worship, how we put people like Steve Rogers on a pedestal and idolize them. Because according to Zemo, we start to forget about their flaws, which leads to inexcusable things happening. From there, cities fly, innocent people die, he says, invoking the destruction of Sokovia. He also invokes the Red Skull and Bucky's experience during World War II as a big reason why super soldiers need to be stopped. While this is happening, the Flag Smashers are at a GRC resettlement camp in Latvia where Carly bids farewell to Donya Madani, a woman that's near and dear to her but dying from tuberculosis. Donya's necklace appears to be what helped inspire the Flag Smashers logo, or maybe she's just a big fan and bought their merchandise somewhere. Remember, use offer code SMASH at checkout. But on a more serious note, this camp is actually a stark reminder of the human cost and impact on life after the blip. We'll come back to that in just a bit, because first we need to talk all about Madripoor. Introduced in 1985's New Mutants 32, Madripoor is a former pirate sanctuary turned modern-day criminal metropolis located in the Indonesian archipelago. Divided into the ultra-wealthy high town and the impoverished low town, Madripoor is basically this lawless country that doesn't believe in pesky things like extradition laws. It's best known from the comics for being Wolverine's home away from home. While Baron Zemo's able to still be himself, Bucky needs to pretend to be the Winter Soldier for their cover story to hold water. As for Sam, he's undercover as Conrad Mack, the Smiling Tiger, a member of the villainous Folding Circle, who often fought the New Warriors and eventually became part of the Madripoorian underworld after stealing an Avengers Quinjet. As they make their way through the streets of Madripoor, we see graffiti saying Power Broker is watching, which was teased previously if you paid attention during the end credits. And as we'll soon learn, the Power Broker is the judge, jury, and executioner here in Madripoor. Also in the background of this scene, what my Easter egg-addled brain immediately parsed as the X-Men logo. Do you see it? I mean, look, it's probably a coincidence, but come on! And speaking of the X-Men, there is a sign for Princess Bar, which is an actual Easter egg. That is Wolverine's favorite haunt in this wretched hive of scum and villainy, which he actually co-owns as his alias Patch. However, our heroes and our Zemos are heading for another bar, the Brass Monkey Saloon from Captain America 363, Moon over Madripoor. Inside the Brass Monkey, Sam accidentally winds up ordering Madripoor's version of snake juice from Parks and Rec. Unfortunately for Sam, Burt Macklin is nowhere to be seen to save the day, so he has to drink this unexpected cocktail, while Bucky repeatedly violates rule number 2 until they're brought back to see Selby, the fixer that runs this bar. Now, there are a couple characters named Selby in the Marvel Universe, but most conspicuous is a member of the Extremist Mutant Liberation Front who has the power to talk directly with computers. And fun fact, Selby actress Imelda Corcoran also played Dr. Goodman on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, this further proves my theory that the entire series of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually Phil Coulson's fever dream while he lays dying during Avengers, which is bleak, I know, but how else can you explain this? The multiverse? Yeah, right. Zemo makes a simple offer. He'll trade the Winter Soldier in exchange for information on where to find the Super-Soldier Serum in Madripoor. As it turns out, Dr. Wilfred Nagel is working on it at the Power Broker's behest. Dr. Nagel is straight out of the Truth Red, White, and Black miniseries, and he was the one who was responsible for experimenting on 300 Black American soldiers as test subjects to recreate the effects of the Super-Soldier Serum that Dr. Erskine first developed in World War II that ultimately yielded Captain America. And we've already met one of those test subjects in the previous episode, Isaiah Bradley, who tells Sam and Bucky how they stole his blood in episode 2. As we'll see later on, though, this version of Nagel is very different, albeit just as morally bankrupt. Unfortunately, the snork juice hits the fan when Sam's sister Sarah calls, and Selby makes him answer on speakerphone. He almost gets away with it until Sarah blows Conrad's cover. Thankfully, though, Sharon Carter, aka Peggy Carter's secret agent niece, has been hiding in the shadows and assassinates Selby, buying our hero some time to escape. Of course, the Power Broker immediately puts out a 1,000 Bitcoin bounty on their heads, which is nearly a $60 million payout based on current rates. It turns Madripoor into John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Now, as you might expect, Sharon is deeply unhappy to see Sam, Bucky, and Zemo here in Madripoor, because while Bucky was pardoned by the government and Sam is actively working for the Air Force, Sharon is still considered an enemy of the state for stealing Cap's shield and Sam's wings during Civil War. Stranded, alone, and furious, she makes her living dealing stolen art like Monet's Woman with a Parasol in Hightown to the highest bidder at her nightclub/gallery space. Sharon tears each of them a new one, telling Sam that he must believe this whole hero thing is a joke because of how quickly he gave up Cap's shield. She also clowns on Bucky for buying into all that Stars and Stripes bullshit and being Mr. America, to which Bucky has an extremely fair reaction.
Oh, she's kind of awful now.
She also warned them to stay clear, and based on her mysterious exchange with her driver later on, it has us wondering if Sharon knows a lot more than she's letting on. Undeterred, Sam cuts a deal. In exchange for Sharon's help finding Nagel, he promises to get her pardoned by the US government so she can come back to the States. But before we get to a whole bunch of murdering in a storage yard, Zemo has the time of his life at the art gallery rave, cutting loose on the dance floor and trying to resist the urge to touch those amazing paintings. After all, in Zemo's own words, in Madripoor,
They know how to party.
I mean, can you blame the guy? He's been in German prison for God knows how long. The party, though, is short-lived because they soon find Dr. Nagel conducting experiments and listening to Mel Torme's Coming Home Baby inside a hidden lab in a shipping container. Inside, Dr. Nagel reveals that originally he was recruited by Hydra for their Winter Soldier program to pick up their work after the 5 failed test subjects in Siberia were killed by Zemo in Civil War. Afterwards, the CIA recruited Nagel to continue his work on the Super-Soldier Serum by using an existing blood sample from an American test subject. That test subject is Isaiah Bradley, who was brutally experimented on for years by the government after he was the only one to survive that Super-Soldier Serum process. Nagel was able to perfect the formula and do what no other scientist since Dr. Erskine was able to do. And for those who don't remember, Erskine, played by Stanley Tucci, aka The Tooch, was the scientist in Captain America: The First Avenger that made the original serum. But before Nagel could finish his work on the optimized serum, which gives you super strength but doesn't turn you into a towering beef castle like Steve Rogers, he got dusted by Thanos during the Snapture. And when he came back, the program was defunct, so he took his talents to Madripoor, where the power broker gladly funded the rest of his research. Although Nagel produced roughly 20 doses, Carly Morgenthau and the other 7 Flag Smasher super soldiers that underwent the treatment stole the remaining serum, and they're currently on the run with them. What will be fascinating to see is how this parallels with the comics, because the power broker in the comics offered paying customers the chance at super strength through their own version of the Super-Soldier Serum. And 2 of the power broker's highest profile customers, John Walker and Lamar Hoskins, aka Captain America and Battlestar. Their increasingly desperate and extrajudicial tactics seem like they're teeing up an encounter with the power broker later this season, and something tells me that although they don't exhibit super soldier powers yet, they, or the government, i.e. Thunderbolt Ross, will wind up being in cahoots with this shadowy figure in exchange for granting them super strength. Sadly for Nagel, this is the end of the line. Zemo executes him with a gun that he finds in the lab, and while this is happening, Sharon takes out endless waves of bad guys that want Sam, Bucky, and Zemo's heads on spikes. Any hopes of salvaging some of that blue liquid from the lab, which looks an awful lot like the Super-Soldier Serum we already know, are dashed unfortunately when a rocket-propelled grenade reduces the lab to cinders. Separated from Zemo, Sam, Bucky, and Sharon fend off even more bad guys while arguing about proper firefight etiquette.
It's in every action movie!
Thankfully, Zemo comes to their rescue, donning his purple mask and blowing the bad guys to smithereens. He also rolls up in a sweet-ass whip and basically says, "Get in, losers, we're going super soldier hunting." Sharon bids them adieu, and then we get a delightful role reversal from that iconic Civil War scene about moving one seat up in a car, which basically served as the spark for this entire series.
You're not gonna move your seat up, are you?
No.
Back in Latvia, we see Carly and Dovich make plans to rob a GRC supply depot while giving more backstory. Carly and the other Flag Smashers were displaced by the folks returning from the Blip. They went to Madripoor for a better life and ultimately volunteered to be test subjects for Nagel's Super-Soldier Serum. And although they reacted poorly at first, now they are empowered in that more subtle way Nagel described. And apparently word travels fast. Carly already knows that Nagel is dead, which means they have plenty of leverage over the power broker who wants his blue goo back. Next, as Walker and Lamar get ready to go rogue, we see a sign in the background reading 322. Now this is auspicious because Captain America 322 features Cap battling Flag Smasher and leads directly into the introduction of John Walker as Super Patriot in the following issue. This kicks off the storyline involving the power broker, John Walker, and culminates in Steve Rogers stepping down as Cap and John Walker being named the new Captain America. Again, probably a coincidence, but a convenient one if so. And while flying to Latvia, Sam wrestles with his ongoing discomfort around the whole idea of superheroism and how people like Sharon Carter and Isaiah Bradley are basically collateral damage. They are cannon fodder in service of an idea and a power they can never benefit from. Although that hunk of metal that's Cap's shield has saved a lot of lives, it's also put others in jeopardy, a price Sam feels is too steep. Bucky, though, isn't quite convinced and says that before Sam goes to destroy it, he's going to take it from Walker himself. Meanwhile, the Flag Smashers heist goes off without a hitch. And yes, by without a hitch, I do mean after chiding the guards for hoarding 6 months worth of supplies, Carly goes full dark no stars and detonates a car bomb, killing all the soldiers inside the building. She justifies this brazen murder by saying that violence is the only language these people understand. Once they arrive in Latvia, Zemo chastises Sam and Bucky for never visiting the Sokovian Memorial honoring those killed during Age of Ultron. Bucky breaks off from the group though because he notices something unexpected. 2 familiar-looking high-tech spheres, which are, of course, Kimoyo beads, highly advanced communication tools that lead the former White Wolf of Wakanda directly to a member of the Dora Milaje, the Black Panther's elite bodyguards. Standing before Bucky is none other than Ayo, as played by Florence Kasumba. Remember her?
Move, or you will be moved.
Yeah, she rules. She's here for Zemo to bring the man who killed their king T'Chaka to justice. You know, just in case you thought things were going a little too smoothly on this globe-trotting adventure for our heroes. Anyway, that's everything we spotted in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 3. We are already halfway through this 6-episode series, and things are getting deadly serious as everyone converges on Latvia. We have plenty of questions about what lies ahead, and we have some theories as well. Thank you again to Playmates Toys for sponsoring today's show. Godzilla vs. Kong is finally here, and you can recreate your favorite MonsterVerse moments with Playmates Toys' awesome line of movie figures available exclusively at Walmart. To learn more about how you can get your hands on Godzilla, Kong, and even, spoiler alert, Mechagodzilla, click the link in the description below. In the meantime, we'll keep you up to date on all things Falcon, Bucky, and MCU over on Nerdist.com. But first, tell us, what did you think of this episode? Did you spot anything that we missed?
Who knows?
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.